Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Ben Olson, that's Nathan Fox. Together with the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT, we have an email or a quick question here from David.
Yeah. David says, within how many points of my goal score should I be to consider myself ready for the real test? If my goal score is 164, should I be at least 1 point, 2 points, 3 points away in my practice tests? Thanks for the help, David. Thanks for the short question, David. What do you think, Ben?
Well, I would prefer that people have scored the scores that they want to get. It's kind of a weird, it's a tough question to answer so precisely, because if you have a goal score of 164, first of all, it's like, why so specific, right? Like, okay, so really what you want is something in the mid 160s. So first of all, your goal should be looser and just more generally targeted as opposed to so specifically targeted.
And it should also be higher, I think. Like
It's higher, sure.
Why is anyone shooting for the mid 160s? I feel like you should set your sights higher if you're going to go be a killer attorney. I can't imagine settling for a score that middling, like, because to talk about what 164 really means, right? Mid 160s means you've got like a kind of okay. You're kind of understanding.
Yeah.
But you're really not understanding a lot. Like, you're making very common mistakes that everybody else also makes. You're not differentiating yourself from the crowd at all.
You're going for free to schools that are in the very, very middle, low part of the spectrum.
Well, or even worse,
yeah,
you're squeaking into mediocre schools like UC Hastings. 164 gets you into the 51st school in the country, and you have to pay full price for a just wildly overpriced mediocre regional law school. And that's not the game we want you to play. We want you to go for free or not at all. And then once you've decided you're going to go for free or not at all, we want you to go to the best school that will admit you for free. And boy, that, difference between 164 and 170 or even 168. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, you're at that point in the range where, boy, just a few more points. By the way, go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships if you want to play with various numbers. Maybe David has a real specific school in mind, and maybe 164 is going to get him the full ride at that one school, and he owns a house right next door or something where he can't go anywhere else. If that's you, David, then fine. But otherwise, that is a weirdly very specific and kind of mediocre goal score. So I wouldn't, I don't like that. Anyway.
Yeah. So in my mind, the goal scores should be like these ranges, right? It's like mid 160s, if that's your goal, or high 160s, low 170s, mid 170s, high 170s, something like that. And so we're shooting for these ranges. And when people say, hey, am I ready to take it? I'd be like, okay, well, have you scored some recent tests, ideally a handful of them in that range, somewhere in that area? If so, then yeah, go take it. So David's like, okay, I want to get a 164. If I'm 3 points away, so that I'm guessing that means that David's highest score is a 161, right? And so then really, what's your range? You're typically scoring between like in the high 150s. And now you want to go take it and hope you get 164 or higher. It's not impossible. You certainly could end up doing that. But I guess I'd just rather you be scoring in the range that's your goal score range or higher.
Yeah. On the day of the test, it's critical that you don't go in there trying to get the best score you've ever gotten.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like me going out to the first tee being like, okay, today I'm going to shoot 4 under.
Yeah.
Like, if you decide on the first tee that you're going to shoot 4 under, you're going to shoot fucking 95, dude. Like, that is not going to, there's going to be some bumps in the road. Like, you're going to hit some bad shots. You're going to miss some putts.
Then you're going to get all down on yourself.
Exactly.
You're going to be like, I didn't ace that first game, and it should be the easiest game. And
there's so many times. I'm hoping that with the new golf season is about to start, so golf is on my mind, but I really hope that I will be able to finish my rounds this year and not like there's so many times where I feel like I shot myself out of it in the first 3 holes. And that's so dumb because you literally can't. Like, I don't care if you double bogeyed the first 3. Well, you could
Mhm.
still just par your way out and shoot 78, and that's not horrible. So
Mhm.
it's like, I yeah, it's a big problem for LSAT folks who, if David, if he has been scoring, let's say, you know, high 150s mostly, sometimes scratching out a 161 or a 162, but he really wants that 164. Well, now he's going out there with this, like, it has to go perfectly.
Yeah, it's got to be the best practice test score I've gotten plus a little bit more.
Right. So then on the first stumble,
Yeah.
he has this whole crashing, the weight of all his expectations. Not now, it's not going perfectly. And
Yeah.
I would much rather you go in with, like, well, my range is 161 to 167. A 164 is going to get it done for me. I'm ready to go. And all I need is like an adequate middle of the road day for me. And I know that an adequate middle of the road day for me allows me to hit a couple bumps.
Yep.
There can be a couple snags. It doesn't have to
Yep.
go perfectly. It just has to be an okay day for me. That's when you're really, really ready.
Yeah.
I also, though, I mean, to make the counter argument is, especially at this point in the cycle, right? When we're talking about the April test, which just passed, or the June test, that's at the end of the LSAC testing cycle.
Mhm.
And so law schools only care about your highest score. You're allowed to take it 3 times in one cycle, or 5 times if you cross that cycle barrier, which happens before the August test. So in a lot of ways, if people are trying to decide whether they want to take the June test, it's kind of like it's free, because it's going to count as an attempt, yeah, but it's counting as an attempt in the previous
For the previous
cycle.
cycle. Yep.
And if it's your first or second attempt in your previous cycle, then it doesn't affect your full 3 attempts that you would get in the next cycle. And so to that extent, I would allow people to kind of take a shot at it. Like, we've been given advice. There's one student who was with us in the early months of the year and then was going to take, I haven't seen him in class in a while, so I hope he's doing okay. But he was like, I advised him basically, yeah, take April, take June, and then
Yeah.
plan on taking it 3 times at the beginning of the next cycle, August, September, what is it, November?
Yeah.
Because he's like dead set on, I have to start law school in 2023.
Yeah.
I tried to talk him out of that, but if you can't be talked out of that, then it's like, well, okay, you need to start taking the test at some point. And anyway, I know I'm super heavy-handedly making this point, but the test attempts late in the cycle are basically free because you're going to cross that magical reset.
Yeah. Well,
And schools only care about your highest
two
score.
of them are free, right? And
Right.
then,
2 of them, up to 2 of them are free. And
yeah.
even if it's your third one this cycle, if you're going to apply early next cycle, well,
Yeah.
then it's August and September. September's already kind of late anyway. If you're taking that September test, you're not really applying early in the cycle. So it could be sensible to take June as your third attempt in the previous cycle, then August, September in the next cycle.
Yeah, as long as you're within a few points, and we're talking, David, specifically 1, 2, 3 points. I want people taking reasonable risks. I think there could be some value there. In fact, like, get your feet wet and stop, making the test bigger than it is. But don't be stupid, right? You're 10 points away. It's like, okay, maybe you just need to be looking ahead to the next cycle. Don't let this be an excuse
By
to
the
do it
way,
now.
I mean, I don't get the sense that Law School Admission Council really listens to the show, but I would like, I would love for them to simplify the limitation. That limitation
Yeah,
thing with the reset.
just
The reset makes no sense. Like,
one limitation.
yeah, why don't you just say it's 5
5
times in 5
lifetime.
years? 5 times lifetime or 7 times lifetime? Well, I don't know, but the idea that there's a reset date for no reason.
Yeah, it makes the test have different value, right?
Yeah.
Which is strange.
It adds an arbitrary and unnecessary complication into our analysis. Like, it forces people like Ben and me to waste a bunch of breath, like trying to explain to people the proper strategies. And you know, it has the unintended consequence of enriching people like me and Ben, which we don't need. Like that's an example of a policy that does nothing to help students. All it really does is help us.
Yeah.
Because we can give people this special advice where it's like, well, you know, it's not actually going to count because the cycle reset and no one else knows that. Like only we actually know that information. And so then we get like overcompensated for sharing a policy that shouldn't really, like, there's no justification. This doesn't make any rational sense to have that specific limitation. There's so many other ways you could do, like we could come up with 10 better ways of doing it in 30 seconds.
I mean, the one positive thing I'm thinking about right now with this complication is that some people listening may be like, oh, geez, like, okay, wait, when do I take it here? Do I take it there? Do I not take it? It's like, hey, don't think about any of that. In fact, it's so complicated. Don't think about it. And don't think about your application timeline. Don't think about when you're going to go to law school. Just think about getting the best damn score you can get and then start to turn your focus to the timeline. And if that means next year, fine. So what? You've let go of that, but you've put your time and energy and focus into the one thing that is really going to make a difference.
Yeah, that is ultimately our advice to David. It's like, dude, every LSAT point's worth 10 grand in scholarships.
Yep.
And 10 LSAT points, you'll go from not getting in all the way up to and including you'll get a full ride at that exact same school that was going to not admit you. Now you're getting a full ride to that school with 10 more LSAT points.
So it's really worth more than 10,000 per point. But
so what's your rush? And you should be working backward from your best LSAT. Or I don't know, working backward doesn't even make any sense. It's just like
you're working toward your best LSAT, and then you can start talking about what to do next.
Yeah. Do you have your best LSAT? We've talked about this little rubric before.
Yeah.
Do you have your best LSAT on record? Yes. Okay. Or sorry, no? Okay. Well, go get your best LSAT on record.
Then come back. Yep.
Okay. Do you have your best LSAT on record? Oh, you do? Yes? Okay, good. Is it September?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay. Wait till September. Is it September? Okay, apply.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
Yep.
You know, and then you don't have to plan or strategize or anything. You just focus on doing the things that are going to be required in order for you to get the very best LSAT you can.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Thanks, David.
Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.